Tarva had a helpful question, and so it's uh, what we're looking into now is the difference between two very helpful practices and two very helpful stages of practice. And when, who was it? Guntang Kunjo Tembe Drame said that even autonomous have the practice of illusory-like appearance. He wasn't saying that even autonomous have realization of the absence of inherent existence on the level of the consequence school, even though they might use the term, that's why I worded that the way I did, even though they might have, even though they might use the term absence of inherent existence, their meaning of inherent existence is not the way the consequence school frames it. But they have a practice called Illusory-Like Appearance, and their description of it is similar to the way the consequence school describes it. And frankly, I don't know why Guntang merely mentioned the autonomy school and didn't say the mind-only school. When you think about it, when I think about it now, why not include the lesser vehicle schools, Sūtra school, and even the Great Exposition schools? Why didn't he include them? So I think that'll become obvious as we explain the practice, as we read this explanation. A conflict between how things appear and how they actually exist. So a mirage, in this case, like out on a desert or driving on a hot macadam, you see water where there isn't water. So it appears to be water. There appears to be water there, but there isn't water there. And just as a city of scent eaters, scent eaters, I think this appears in the sky. I seem to remember Gyumai Kinsung Lingden describing to me that this appears in the sky, and it's a phantom city. You see a city in the sky. And why this is ascribed city of scent eaters. Now, I don't know if the scent eaters see this or the scent eaters are in the city or not. In Tibetan, these are chisa, beings who eat scents. I don't know. But anyway, it's a phantom city. And I remember seeing a translation that calls this a fata morgana. But this must be a way of referring to it by way of what? Latin? Or doesn't, to me it would seem to be Italian, but Italian is closely linked to Latin. So a phantom city appearing maybe by the arrangement of clouds, or I don't know. So this appears in the sky, but it isn't really a city. Now I was thinking about earlier a magician. A magician came to the monastery, Geshe Wangyal's so-called monastery. A professor, and he made himself look like an idiot because he wanted us to be afraid of his magical illusions. And he appeared to be such an idiot that we were afraid, I was, when he was sticking a knife into one of his students. I forget whether the student was behind a curtain or in a box or what. And I was saying to people things like, this guy's a frickin' idiot. Watch out, he's going to kill his student. You know? So here's a case where this was not the case of, this is a case of a meditator who could, the kind of person who could put on through his or her mental magic a show. I mean, an actual show. Do you follow me? Who could emanate a show, but it was just a show. But who was a good faker to make you think that he was a nut and would screw up his act and would be sticking a knife into his student. So there would be two kinds of magician's emanation. You see, I want you to get into the example and not just read it and think, oh, I know what that means, and get on to the next point, like the next thing in your day. So what does the magician emanate? A horse, horses, elephants, and so forth. Now, I don't think the magician emanates horses and elephants at the same time. I think you could see the time I put into these things. Because if it's a horse, that's something, at that time and so forth. Horse is something you want because it's going to help you plow the field or get on the horse and ride it. Elephant, you're probably scared shitless of it. Because like in South India, when they're first building the settlements, one elephant would come and destroy the crops. So they had to post, in my case, I knew they'd post monks to scare away the elephants. Now, I don't know how monks, I didn't witness it, how a few monks could scare away elephants, but I don't know how people are scaring away there's some dog-like animal that's biting humans and dogs and so forth in the park. I live next to the park. So, and they put on the news, Vancouver News, how many dogs and how many humans have been bit recently by these, not wolves, but something a little smaller than a wolf. Coyote, exactly. So understanding the examples and so forth. And one of the texts said food, you know? Somebody like me, if they're capable of displaying food, and it included chocolate cake and so forth, then I would, be thinking about the chocolate cake. And so forth would include, humans, men and women, attractive men and women. And so you think, oh, how could I meet up with that person afterwards? How could I get first in line? Okay, and just as in a dream, there are no, here's the men, women, and so forth, but there appear to be men, women, and so forth. Now, I don't know why the next one is in parentheses rather than in brackets. And that is to say, just as mirages and so forth appear to be water and so on, but are empty of water and so on. Empty. I think it means it's part of the text. These are annotations. This is within the annotations to Tsong-kha-pa's Stages of the Path. Empty. So that's something about the use of empty, but aren't water and so forth. So, forms and so forth. Now, at first I thought forms and so forth, the and so forth would include all phenomena, but actually this is going to be extended to all phenomena. In the very last line of this note says, and that's part of the stanza, know that this mode of emptiness is to be applied to all phenomena. So the and so forth of forms and so forth can, visible forms and so forth, I don't know how far to take it. Maybe just the objects of the senses. Forms, sounds, stop, don't rush through these things. Forms, sounds, point to, odors. I put a little medicine on my back, that's why I almost was late. On my lower back that I got from a naturopath. So actually I don't have the smell of the medicine. Just smelling my fingers, which are quite neutral. Neutral odor. Neither fragrant nor unfragrant. Okay? Classifying. Despite having taken a piss just before coming here. Gotta be realistic. Yeah. Okay. Forms, sounds, odors, taste. God, I still have the taste of... Oh yeah, the stomach medicine I took. Yeah. Taste, touch of the medicine I put on my back, a little bit sticky, which I rubbed all over my hands. I figured, well, I may as well use it to cut down on the slight pain of arthritis. Really, gotta be here and now, not just in the text, words that don't, right? Bodhidharma, point to anything, right? The moon was the realization, but the Bodhidharma's, right? The words have to point to the realization, the moon, but also, right, this stuff. What appear to be horses, elephants, and so forth. Just as in a dream, there are no men, women, and so forth. Okay, dream, right? So forms and so forth, which are like signs. This horrible word, signs, that appears, signlessness in signs. So it's explaining this word. Signs of capacity, signs of, I've been watching a program on Lincoln. I'm always talking about Lincoln, more frequently talking about Lincoln. Signs of, what's the sign that he was so smart? The words he often spoke, were so evocative. So that's a sign of his being brilliant. Signs of capacity to appear and manifest. These forms and so forth, they're like signs of capacity, right? Right? This microphone is a sign of a capacity to take voice, to appear and manifest, are meditated on. Now this word meditated, he's going to show in the stanza, doesn't mean meditated at all. Doesn't mean meditation. This commentary on the stanza says it means adhered to by way of taking them to mind. We're adhering to forms and so forth by way of taking them to mind. Meditation, you can see that we adhere to them, which is something like meditation, because we're taking them to mind. We're getting stuck on. Meditation means to stick onto the object of meditation by way of taking them to mind, taking to mind. And hence, I went back to the text. I got out the text. I often get diverted when I prepare. So I found some more words in the commentary. And hence those forms and so forth, which are objects of adherence, having been taken as manifest signs, are empty of inherent existence. And the adherers to them, which can be the people adhering to them, or the consciousnesses adhering to them. This is the way meditation often is done, but the word meditation here doesn't mean meditation. But meditation is often done this way. First you concentrate on the objects. Then you concentrate on the subjects, the consciousnesses and or the people, the persons, who are adhering to them, are also empty of inherent existence. So this is one of the most prominent places where I ran into this, first meditating on the objects, then paying attention to the meditators on those objects, or to the, in this case, adherers to them in a certain way, turning around and meditating on the subjects. First, when I first ran into this in a big way is in Tsong-kha-pa's presentation of Yoga Tantra. First meditating on, in this case, it was meditating on the absence of inherent existence of the objects, then meditating on the absence of inherent existence of the consciousnesses that were meditating on the objects. If I had the time, I should have gotten out that passage in the Yoga Tantra book from Tsong-kha-pa's Great Exposition of Secret Mantra, that His Holiness especially prepared, and then had his office call me to Dharamsala to listen to his exposition, which he then gave in public rather than in private, for the sake of that book. He gave the expositions for those books in private to me, and then called me to Dharamsala after he had he stopped and said, I don't know enough about Yoga Tantra, and then prepared over, I don't know, about a year, and then gave that exposition in public and called me to the public exposition, which I, of course, recorded and translated and made the book. Having gotten out a bunch of the books that it was obvious he had read in order to prepare himself for it. Okay, adherers to them, that's what that means, are also empty of inherent existence. Know that this mode of emptiness is to be applied to all phenomena. Wow, beautiful. So it was worth diverting. And the Mother of Conquerors, back to the text, Practical Wisdom Sutra says that all phenomena from forms through exalted knowledge of all aspects. Now I wanted to get out and say how many aspects that is. From the study of the professional wisdom. And I, there wasn't time to do that. Either I was going to do that or I was going to read more in order to prepare, and I didn't. And thus the importance of the translation of all aspects, what that means. It's not unimportant that it says all aspects.
Of the 3 exalted knowers?
Yeah, how many in total?
173.
173? That's funny, because I just transposed it to 137. Thank you. But I was smart enough not to say it. 173 aspects. Yes. And so we translated, or I translated, a separate text by Gunjo Jime Hombo on the 73 aspects of the 3 exalted knowers. Thank you. Great having somebody who can prompt me. There are 2 meanings of such teachings as being like an illusion. So there's a teaching of an ultimate truth as being like an illusion. So sometimes it's said that an emptiness is established as merely existent. It exists. That its true existence is negated. So it's merely existent. Its true existence, its inherent existence is negated. So it's like an illusion in that its inherent existence is negated. And that's one meaning of like an illusion. So even the ultimate truth, emptiness, is like an illusion. It exists, but it doesn't inherently exist. And this is not the illusory-like appearance that he wants to talk about here. What Tsong-kha-pa wants to talk about here. Here, an object, whatever it is, appears while being empty of inherent existence. So being like an illusion refers to, or I'm trying to get rid of the word refers to, is the latter. So I think we can notice that the type of teaching that we've been reading a lot about, and what appears below here, takes a lot of words to talk about, to teach, and a lot of these words don't appear in what we were reading about. I don't know as the word illusion appeared, or even like an illusion. It's just worth noting. That doesn't mean it's different. Kuntang made a big deal that that there's something different going on between the two of these, and we can just kind of tick off differences of vocabulary. That's not going to solve it. We'll just notice them, you know. And we may notice something that will solve it. Appearance of something and emptiness of existing the way it appears. These two factors are needed. Moreover, now I don't want to be contrasting the two teachings all the time as we go through this. I want to just immerse myself in this one, because this is an important teaching and it's something we need to do. And this one is not being put down as something we don't do. We do it. And if we, let's say we couldn't do the other one, but we could do this one, that would be fantastic. You know, that would be great. And even if we couldn't figure out the difference, and we could learn how to do this one, super. And we could put the other one on the shelf and say we're going to keep coming back to it, and we're going to keep reading more, and we're going to try to get at it, you know, or we know that one's very profound, and His Holiness talks a lot about making progress on that one and figuring more out, and, you know, that must be really something in addition to this one. and I can understand this one I can seems more approachable. Wow. Yeah. Moreover, if objects seem to be utterly non-existent, even as mere appearances, like the horns of a rabbit, like rabbits don't have horns, period, like nothing, or the child of a barren woman or a barren man, right? Except by cloning, right? And cloning, I could have a child. I'm 80, scrape some stuff off of my quite numb thumb, not completely numb, but sort of fuzzy feeling thumb from typing too much. Right? Could have a child, but not the other kind, probably. Anyway, I don't want to bother. And do not dawn as appearing yet empty, of existing the way they appear. The meaning of illusory-like appearance is not dawned to the mind. So, if objects seem to be that way, but not this other way, then you haven't figured it out. So, you might think, okay, then we don't need to read the rest of the chapter. But Tsong-kha-pa is going to tell us how to do it. Right? That's the first sentence. I'm going to tell you how to do it. For examples, the illusions emanated, or Hopkins tells you a better translation of emanated might be conjured. But you see, there's two meanings of a magician. Magician could be emanating or could be conjuring. Do you follow? Oh yeah, I'm remembering the Nyingma. Oh yeah, the Nyingma mantra was, you could pronounce it as tiwi 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 tiwi, or the other Sanskrit pronunciation was TV 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 TV, and your mind would be affected such that you would see the image that he or she wanted you to see. Right? It's pretty wild that the mantra in that Nyingma book was TV, 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 TV. I wonder if I can get into your minds through what's this thing called? Zoom. Do you suddenly feel like giving me gold? You see, I don't see. It's got to be giving me something, not just seeing some image. We're getting into my why do I make jokes about giving me gold? Yeah. Yeah. Emanated or conjured by a magician are from the start, empty of being horses and elephants. Wow. Or a big party feast. Smorgasbord. Yeah. A big smorgasbord. But appearances, horses, are undeniably adorned. You see him. And likewise, you should know the phenomena also are from the start empty of inherent existence. They appear one way, exist another way. Whether there's the cruder object of negation, as in the autonomy school, it's a cruder object of negation. Whether they call it inherent existence, or well, they do call it inherent existence, or in the more subtle object of negation, as in the consequence school, that is, of being established by way of their own nature right with the object. That's the consequence school. It's a cruder one with the autonomy school. But it is undeniable that they appear as if established that way. Thus, appearances as God, human, and so forth are posited as persons. Appearances as a God, human, and so forth are posited as persons. And I'm a little bit disturbed by that line. Appearances as a God, human, and so forth are posited as persons. That doesn't seem to say much. And the objects that are appearances as form, sound, and so forth are posited as phenomena. Well, that doesn't say any more than saying we call that first array, God's, human, and so forth, we call them persons. You know, in our technical vocabulary, we call them persons, or maybe in normal vocabulary, these are called persons. Positive doesn't seem to mean anything, but in normal vocabulary, we call them persons. Normal bookish vocabulary, we call them persons. And objects of their appearances as form, sounds, and so forth. In bookish vocabulary, we call them phenomena. Or as somebody on television last night said, we call them phenomenons. Then I thought, oh, I'm so educated, I call them phenomena. Therefore, although persons and phenomena do not have even a mere, but Tsong-kha was nice. I mean, he's educating us. We call them these persons. We go, we put them in groups, persons and phenomena. And really this is phenomena other than persons, because persons are phenomena. Therefore, although persons and phenomena do not have even a mere particle of an inherent nature, which is just, the note tells us, Rangshan, and instead of particle of a nature, but the translator wanted you to make sure it was the object of negation, right? Not just nature, but inherent nature. That is to say, and Tsong-kha-pa wanted us to know, and this is the way he put it, so that we know, established by way of their own character, and he used a different gloss, these really potent words, right? Because they point to something. Bodhidharma. Even, kind of Bodhidharma minor. Major would be the emptiness, minor is the object of negation. That's pretty cute to me. Even all the dependently arisen actions, agents, and objects. And this is something that's really weird in Tibetan and in Sanskrit. Chaje here means short. In Tibetan, for those who know Tibetan, is chaje lesum. And that lay means object. But the next lay is going to mean action. Lay has these two different meanings. Lay meaning object, and lay meaning action. It's really odd. I was saying ard. For odd, ard. Odd, in various areas of New England, we say ard. Really ard. Really odd. Accumulator of actions, you see in the next one, actions. That's lay. Action. In the previous one, it was objects. Using the same word with two very different meanings, so forth. Act of viewing, object of hearing, and so forth. Within that, even though there ain't any establishment by way of their own character, from their own side. Whereas in the autonomy school, there's a combination of from the object side and from the subject side. Because all actions, agents, and objects are feasible because of this. This is not an annihilatory emptiness. An emptiness like the horns of a rabbit, which don't exist at all. Also, because phenomena, which from the primordial start have been emptiness in this way, as if there were a primordial start. There isn't a primordial start. There isn't any primordial start. In Nyingma, there is a primordial start. There is. I brought this up in a conference once where there were, there's us scholars. Among us scholars, there are Nyingmapas, there are proponents of Nyingma, proponents of Gelug, and I was shoving it down the Nyingmapa's throat because these scholars want to move away from this. Way back in primordial time, there was a start. But nowadays, this was 30 years ago or so, maybe longer ago, but nowadays they're willing to accept it, so I didn't need to shove it down their throat. I'm part Nyingma myself, but I thought, we We ought to accept this if we're going to be true to the faith. There is a start, whereas in Geluk there ain't no start. Even though this word is used, from the primordial start have been empty in this way. I don't know how you can use that term without primordial start if there were a start. Yea, terminate. I think that's the word here. But anyway, just being known as empty. Therefore, this is also not a mentally fabricated emptiness. Since all objects of knowledge are asserted this way, this is not a partial emptiness. Consequently, meditation on it even serves as the antidote to all exaggerated adherences of the apprehension of true existence. So, Tsong-kha-pa, within talking about seeing all phenomena as like illusions, gives a, shall we call it, a bang-up exhortation on the emptiness of inherent existence. It's cool. So, we'll continue from the next paragraph next time.